All right, people. So the Ring magazine are reporting a bit of interesting news on one Vladimir Klitschko. But before we get into that, first of all, I want to just say, holy something. Holy something. Look at the response. I'm absolutely chuffed to bits with the response that me and Ade got on the first episode of our show together, which is looking likely to be a regular occurrence. And like just yeah, it was epic. It was epic to film everything. It's crazy, isn't it? And also, what's crazy? Have a look there on screen. We're into the last day of a flash sale for the zone. Oh yeah, last day of a flash sale for the zone, up to 30% off UK and US plans, right? Basically, 30%, you're looking at roughly £200 to $200 a year. It's for a limited time. It ends tomorrow. And let's remember, let's just think, right? All the good fights we have coming up in the month of February in the US, Chisora versus Otto Wallin is going to be shown on the zone, just so you know as well. So there's a lot of good stuff. There's an awful lot of good stuff. But now, let's talk boxing. Let's talk about Wladimir Klitschko. So the Ring magazine have stated that Wladimir Klitschko is now seriously considering a return to boxing for the big fight in 2025. The Ring understands Klitschko will be 49 in March, which he will, and has the aim of breaking George Foreman's record and becoming the oldest heavyweight champion of all time. Now, it's a, right. It's a weird one for me because, look, I've always said this: records, when a record gets broken, it's brilliant. It really is, because some records you think will stand forever. For example, you want to look at a sport like boxing. Wilfred Benitez, 17 years old, world boxing champion. I know a lot of people, I think he was lightweight champion if I'm not mistaken, but I know a lot of people, and myself included, are big Luke Littler fans. And what he did in darts is likely not to get beaten. He was 17 years old when he became world darts champion. No one was hitting Luke Littler in the nicest way. No one was hitting him. Records like that, if they are broken, which I think are unlikely, I do want to see it. It's like Moses Atelma, you know. There is a part of me that thinks he should be developed, and I think they're doing a great job with his development. But winning a world title, he has till May to do it. So it's unlikely he will break it. But the fact that he was willing to test the waters and try it and think so highly of himself to do it is phenomenal. And listen, if Usyk gets stripped of a belt or vacates and he fights for the vacant title, I'm all for seeing him try and break that record. I love seeing records broke. I think that's what's the whole point of them. A record isn't there. Look, I'm not a big Lewis Hamilton fan. I love Michael Schumacher. He was when I was a kid growing up, I idolized him. He was literally, Michael Schumacher was I had pictures of him in my room and everything. He was my favorite sports star, and I loved sports even when I was a kid. Michael Schumacher was number one. I was hoping Lewis Hamilton would break his record because I want to see records broken. All right, and Michael Schumacher was everything to me. So I love seeing records broken. With the oldest heavyweight champion, which is currently George Foreman, he was just shy, about 2 months shy of his 46th birthday. For Vladimir to do that, it would be an amazing achievement. And saying that, it's not like he's broke a record and, you know, he's only broke it by a couple of months or a year, as in, you know, in the age difference. You're talking 5 years nearly older. So, or yeah, 4 years older. You're talking 4 years older. Which would be an incredible achievement. Like 49 years old to try and break that record honestly, it's a phenomenal achievement if he could do it. But I don't think he will. And I think when I look at someone like Wladimir Klitschko and he talks about wanting to do what George Foreman did, you have to look at everything in context, right? George Foreman, yes, he was the oldest heavyweight champion. He still is the oldest heavyweight champion in history. He's not the oldest champion in history, Hopkins is. But long and short of it, he made his comeback. He retired after Jimmy Young. I think he fought Jimmy Young in 77, 78. And he came back like that 10 years later, 87, 88. I think it was 87. And basically he fought, I think he had like 20 odd fights of just fighting no hopers. You know, Dwight Muhammad was in there, Jerry Cooney was in there. Couple of recognisable 80s journeymen were there, but for the most part it was nothing really special he was doing. He fights Holyfield and loses, gives a good account of himself but loses. Has a couple more fights, then challenges Tommy Morrison. I think it was a vacant WBO title at the time, which wasn't recognised as a legit world title. He loses that fight. Very cautious Tommy Morrison, not like him at all. And then he challenges Michael Moore. Now, Michael Moore, great light heavyweight champion, a heavyweight, not the biggest, could still punch though, southpaw. At the time, that was unheard of. I think he was the first southpaw heavyweight champion in history. Very bad chin. You know, he was down several times in his career. Certainly at heavyweight, he had a poor chin. He was knocked out and around by fighters. He was bounced off the canvas, multiple times. I think 5 or 6 times in the rematch with Holyfield. And you never had a great chin. He was bossing the fight, and Foreman knocked him out with the right hand. One shot, boom, it's done. Jim Lampley famously screaming, "It happened. It happened." And, you know, that's the context of the scene, so to speak, that George Foreman found himself in. He found himself facing a 25-year-old Michael Moore, who he was significantly bigger than, he hit significantly harder than, and Michael Moore was always chinny. Wladimir Klitschko, should he come back, and I would be very much an advocate of, you can't just walk, especially Wladimir Klitschko. His last fight was 2017, 8 years ago nearly. You can't just walk into a world title fight. No way. If he was to come back, I know he keeps himself in good shape. You know, Wladimir Klitschko still, even now at 50, he looks better than the average 20-year-old. Really, he's in phenomenal shape. But the heavyweight division today is not what it was when it was Klitschko ruling, when it was Klitschko on top. You know, you had the likes of David Haye, Povetkin. I know, Povetkin, I think that fight could have been very different with... Luis Pabon is normally a good referee, but I think, you know, you got it, because that was disgraceful. Disgraceful, shocking. But the likes of David Haye, Povetkin, Pulev, they were seen until the Furies and the Joshuas and the Wilders, etc. came along the scene. That was the best you could kind of really get. He obviously loses to Fury, loses to Joshua, and since the immediate aftermath of that, look at the heavyweight division now. Look at all the good fighters we have, past and present. Alexander Usyk is still the number one guy. I look at someone like Dubois, and I look at that and I just think a 50-year-old Klitschko, I wouldn't give him a sniff of a prayer against Daniel Dubois. I think stylistically Dubois, even a prime Klitschko, would struggle a lot with Dubois because, you know, the battle of the jabs. Kubrat Pulev, when he was in his prime, he had a very, very good jab, stinging jab, absolutely stinging jab. He was able to take Klitschko's jab away instantly, and Klitschko just said, all right, here, have a left hook. But Dubois, with his aggression, with his strength, because you got to bear in mind, Klitschko was outmanning very poor fighters who, many of them were shorter than him, many of them were way overweight, or, you know, they weren't in good shape, and they were just piss poor. Dubois is neither of them. He's not. He's a big, strong unit of a man. He's a bit short than Klitschko, yeah, but he's a phenomenal jab, tremendous puncher, absolutely devastating puncher, really is. Klitschko, a naturally cautious guy, he's going to want to take, he would not even attempt to take a risk against someone like a Dubois. And I just think that a prime Klitschko would struggle, much less a Klitschko now. And even if, we'll say, Alexander Usyk was to retire, which Alex Krasuk said, no, he's not ready to retire, so he's not retiring. If he fought Klitschko, he wouldn't be able to land a glove on, or if he fought Usyk, he wouldn't be able to land a glove on Usyk. If he was to fight the likes of, say, a Tauma, a Joseph Parker, a Bacoli, I can't see him beating any of these. You know, it's not that I don't want to see records broken. I do, as I said, but I can't see him. The heavyweight division, again, you think of it like this. Foreman, when he did his thing, he fought Holyfield and lost, right? And that, out of the crop of heavyweights we had in the 1990s. Maybe you can add Tommy Morrison if you want, or you can add Michael Moore, but they are not the cream of the crop at heavyweight, all right? Never fought the likes of Lennox Lewis. Didn't even fight Tony Tucker. Vacated his WBA title rather than fight Tony Tucker. Fought Axel Schultz instead and struggled in that fight. A lot of people think he lost. He didn't fight the likes of Tyson. He didn't fight the likes of Bo. He didn't fight the likes of Galata, etc., etc., etc. So, you know, he was able to get that title and become oldest champion, and no disrespect to Michael Moore, by fighting a chinny, undersized heavyweight, really. You know? These guys are not undersized heavyweight nowadays. They're big, they're strong, some of them have good athleticism, and, you know, you're nearly 50. Father Time is undefeated. I don't care how good a shape you are in. It doesn't matter. You know, I remember years ago watching a documentary of Muhammad Ali. I can't remember which one it was. Might have been I Am Ali, that documentary. I forget who it was in it, and he said that Ali in like 80, I think he fought Holmes in 80. When he was getting ready to fight Holmes, he took his top off, and he said that what he seen was the exact same body that he saw when he fought Sonny Liston, because Muhammad Ali lost a lot of weight for that fight. And he just said, Muhammad, that doesn't mean anything. You're in good shape, but what does that mean? You can't fight Larry Holmes. And he was right. He looked aesthetically brilliant in that, going into that fight. Muhammad Ali, lightest weight he'd been in God knows how long. I've never watched the Larry Holmes fight. I don't want to, because I know exactly what happened, and I've seen little clips of it here and there, and I don't want to watch it. But and obviously that's very different. Muhammad Ali was clearly suffering from Parkinson's and stuff like that. That it is different. I get it, but you know what I mean. And that was a 39, 40-year-old Muhammad Ali. You're talking about a 50-year-old Vladimir Klitschko. As near as makes no difference. Yeah, I think it would end in disaster, truth be told. But he's considering it. Let's see. Let's watch this space. Could we get the Tyson Fury rematch after all? And Fury would destroy Klitschko in the rematch, by the way. Now, anyway, he'd make light work of him, I believe. Let me know your thoughts. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, all that good stuff. Peace.